Hi, kids. Welcome to another episode of On the Patio. I'm Dean, and today, well, I've got Mr. Cosmo Watts. Now, that's post 1978. Pre 1978 would be Mr. Billy Watts, for all of you Las Vegans that might know Cosmo from 1978 and before. And via Skype, again, back in Las Vegas, we've got Cosmo Watts. Cosmo, good afternoon.
Hi, Dean. How you doing?
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
So, Cosmo, I know who you are. A lot of people in the industry that you've worked with, both from the early days to present, know who you are. But there's a lot of viewers and a lot of gurus out there that are in the music industry that have heard about you, but don't necessarily know everything about Cosmo. So, why don't you give us a little rundown on who Cosmo is and where you've been so far?
Well, I started off playing music at a very early age. Grew up in Palmdale, California, born in Burbank, grew up in Palmdale, California. And there was only three things you could do in Palmdale. There's about 8,000 people in the area. As you could either go to work for Lockheed, go to work for the Air Force Base, and or become a musician, and I chose that. So
Sure.
I always had a passion for music. My mom played keyboards. My mom and dad divorced when I was 5, very young. And my dad's best friend was Red Norvo, a very famous jazz musician. So he was like Uncle Red. He was a very big influence for jazz for me. And then
Sure.
I loved just songwriting and playing guitar and keyboards and stuff.
So I understand that you got started early working at a music store.
Yeah.
First band around, what, 15, 14 years old?
Yeah, around 15, I was working at a local music store in Palmdale. I was teaching guitar and then selling, learning how to sell stuff. And I was very interested in all the gear and all that. And
Right.
then I had bands that I was playing. I think the first concert I ever played, I had a band called Mach 5, 5 times faster than the speed of sound. And we opened up for Captain Beefheart, who opened up for the Standills. So we played the Antelope Valley Fairgrounds, and we played rock festivals in the area and stuff in Palmdale.
That's incredible.
Then I had another band really successful out of Palmdale called The Farm. So we did quite well, and had a record that made it, I think it was #1 in New York, #1 in California, no distribution in the Midwest, and we got played by Don Imus at KUTY, believe it or not. And but that went really well, and then the band eventually broke up, like all bands do, just like being married, and
Right. Right.
3 other guys, and it never quite works out right, But you recover from that, and you do other stuff, and you go on and just try to enjoy life and play music and have a good
Sure.
time.
So besides being in the industry of a performer, keyboards, guitar, you're a singer, songwriter.
Yeah.
You've worked with the names as well.
I got my first publishing deal, I think, when I was 17 years old, something like that.
Right.
So that was quite fun.
Sure.
And I've been one of these guys in my life where I just enjoyed moving on and kept doing other things all the time. Where, I did, played music in bands. I was in the first Christian rock band, believe it or not, called Solid Rock back in, I think it was 67 or something, like 68. We toured up and down California with Andre Crouch, that kind of thing, doing gospel music, and we did rock and roll. And then I wrote a song that band did called Orange Sunday Morning. Michael and Marty got a hold of it, produced it, and had a band called Renaissance record it. And then I got into the bigger scene at that time. So it was kind of, yeah.
And is that what led you to working for companies like Korg?
No. How that came about was in the 70s, I had another band. I was a house guitar player at a country bar for a while called the Bandar. So I played country music for a while. I was in a show band called Burgundy Street Singers that did the Budweiser commercials. When you say Bud. So that, and we had the Pick a Pair of Six-Pack Twins that later became the Swades on Happy Days. Janet Joe Bunker. The other guitar player in the band, Michael McCarty, and I worked on a lot of music together. We did a couple of films and stuff together, that kind of thing. And Then I had a band called The Press that was making it really big. We had management and all that stuff. Played, the Rainbow, the Trube, the Roxy, the Starwood Theater, all those places in Hollywood, and all the drug scene came in and everything. And I was on my second marriage that time, and she got heavily into drugs. That didn't work out. I grabbed my guitar, headed on a Greyhound bus, said, "Take me to the next place you're going." It happened to be Las Vegas. So I came here. I played for tips in bars for the first couple of weeks, enough to stay in a flop house. But I knew if I did that and stayed there doing that, I'd die, because there's so much drugs and alcohol and stuff. But anyway, and then I wound up working for a music store in Las Vegas. I started off in a small store, and then the bigger store at that time was hearing about me, that I knew stuff. I knew how to sell, and I knew about guitars and amps and all that stuff. And at the time, I started a new band in Las Vegas that later got inducted to the Las Vegas Rock and Roll Hall of Fame called Madame Tango. And so I had that band, and the local music rag was throwing a big party up in Blue Diamond area, and everybody was talking to everybody. And then this guy comes up to me and goes, "Yeah, are you that Cosmo guy?" And I go, "Yeah." He said, "Well, you're out selling all my guys in my music store, and I'd hire you, but you look like an uptight kind of guy." And I go, "I'm really uptight." And I grabbed him by the arm, and I had a little sports jacket and tie on, he did too, and dragged him into the swimming pool with our clothes on. He pops out and says, "I want to hire you. I want to hire you." I turned out as Mike Mahoney, and we're still great friends to this day. And he says, "I'm gonna get my dad to hire you and everything." And I started off in that store selling guitars and amps, lots of Marshall amps and Gibson Les Pauls and Strats, and then I saw the guy in the part selling keyboards and recording stuff, and go, "That guy's making the big bucks." So those items sold for a lot more. And I go, and it turned out he was leaving the job there, and Momo said, "Anybody sells these Synergies that we just got in?" I don't know if you remember that keyboard. It was one of the first digital keyboards. And the guy who invented that, by the way, is a friend of mine to this day. He said, "Anybody that sells one of these things gets the job." I sold 3 of them in 3 days, I think it was. So, and then I started, because I took physics in college a bit, I understood, and I used to program the ARP Odyssey and the Mini Moog for my keyboard player in the band, The Press, and I kind of knew all that stuff, and I started programming all the new keyboards that were coming out, and I got famous for doing a lot of DX7 programs. I did a lot of the secondary FM stuff that wound up being on a lot of the keyboards, and I started getting hired by other companies to do sounds for their keyboards, and there was a Cosmo Watts DX7 cartridge that was out.
Really?
Symphony series. Bo Tallman and I both had him out on that. And everybody was knowing me as a programmer at that point.
I see.
And I started writing a few software programs, MIDI software programs, but I was more interested in designing sounds. A company called Ensoniq came out, and they were, I was doing a lot of samples for their keyboards, and they got a hold of me. I wound up moving to Fresno, is where I first met you.
Right.
For Tim. Tim goes, "Wow, man, how much money are they paying you there at Mahoney's?" I said, "Well, I'm not going to leave them. I love the store." And I was making really good money back then. And my wife, I just gotten married, my 3rd marriage, first time with kids, had a little daughter there. She wanted to get out of Las Vegas. And she goes, "Let's go to California." And Tim offered me the job, moved there and managed the stores there. But I was still programming sounds. I did back then the D50 sound cartridges, the Jonathan Cain cartridge, and the Keith Emerson cartridge for I Voice Crystal cartridges. Okay. So I got to meet them, and they okayed it and approved it and all that stuff. And I was getting calls a lot for programming people's keyboards, a lot of recording sessions, got album credits, doing Donna Summers and a bunch of other people designing sounds for their recordings. And then Ensoniq offered me the job as a rep. I knew the rep before, and they asked me if I was interested in the job, and I knew how much money they made, and I go, "I'll take that job. It's a lot of money." And Tim paid me quite well, but this was outrageous money. So.
Sure.
So I got to play keyboards and some guitar and design sounds, and I traveled all over the place. It was just I did half the United States at one time, and it was fun. Did lots of clinics, and that's how I got known, and I met a lot of people doing that. That's how I first met Joe Walsh and Randy Jackson and Edgar Winter and all those people.
I see. And I understand you and Joe are quite good friends to this day.
We're good friends, yeah.
And I know there's some stories in the wings for another occasion to share. I do know of a good story that I'd like you to share with the audience about how you would be very involved many years ago with Mr. Paul Schaefer from the David Letterman Band.
Oh, yeah.
How that came about.
Well, I was at the time when I was working at Mahoney's Music in Las Vegas. One of the sons, Marty Mahoney, who was a drummer, said, "Hey, I've got a place. You want to share this house with me?" And I go, "Sure." Well, we're at the store, and then all of a sudden, Paul Schaefer came in with the group, and they were looking for a place to rehearse when Letterman was doing the show in Las Vegas. That was before he was with CBS when he was doing the NBC thing, and they wound up playing at our house, and Paul asked, he says, "Well, I've heard you do some great sounds." I did some sound design for some of his keyboards, and they rehearsed at our house all week long. It was just amazing. And so, David Sanborn was playing sax with them that week, and it was just a treat. And they're all such great people, great musicians.
A remarkable story that you'd have that opportunity, Cosmo.
Yeah,
that's incredible. So these days, you're doing a lot of solo work. You're doing a lot of writing.
Yeah, well, I've been doing more arrangements than anything, and I have a band called the Brotherhood. It's not my band, but I'm in a band called the Brotherhood. We do a lot of Tower of Power, Earth, Wind and Fire, Cool and the Gang stuff. So it's a lot of fun, party, have a good time band. Then I have a duo that plays every weekend called Wing and Watts.
Excellent.
Just two acoustic guitars. We play up in Boulder City a lot. And then I also do a solo thing. I played when I first got in town at the Bailiwick Room at the Orleans Hotel. And that's what I like doing these days, going back to my roots and just playing guitar, old jazz stuff. And
Sure.
And I take old Louis Armstrong songs and arrange them on guitar and kind of sing like him.
And you do sound like him very much so. I've personally seen and heard you as well as the videos, and it's remarkable how you can replicate that sound quite well.
Well, it's when I was a kid, Louis Armstrong was my first hero.
Sure.
And I wanted to play trumpet. I could already play guitar and ukulele and some piano because my mom was a pianist. I want it. So I got, a hold of a trumpet, and I couldn't get my armature, just never worked. I played woodwinds. I played flute. When I went to college, I did my juries on flute. But
what instruments are you currently seasoned in, Cosmo? What haven't you played?
What haven't I played?
Sure.
You mean instruments or?
Yes.
Oh, geez. Well, I can't play brass instruments. That's for sure. I know that.
Sure.
The other thing I can't play, anything that takes four limbs, I can't coordinate four limbs. So my brother and my nephew, they're both great drummers.
Yes.
But I can't, I can write out drum music. I can do three limbs and play okay, but you add the fourth one, I can't do it. One time I was working with some very famous musicians that became musicians in the Byrds, Clarence White and Gene Parsons, from Palmdale. We all kind of grew up together. And Sneaky Pete was hanging out with them sometimes, and I go, "Wow, I want to take pedal steel lessons." I think I got one lesson from him. He said, "Just give it up now." He said, "You can play good slide and good guitar, but you can't coordinate four limbs. Don't even try."
Sure.
So that's what I can't play.
Sure. Oh, that's funny. That is funny. You've certainly carved yourself a nice little hole in the wall to be in Las Vegas, and sounds like you're doing quite well with not only your own music, but with the other bands that you're currently involved in that's keeping you busy. Website, social media, where can people find you? Where can people come and see you play if they're in the Las Vegas area or coming to the Las Vegas area?
Well, if they're coming to Las Vegas, I'm playing. This Friday happens to be solo by myself, but usually it's the Wing and Watts, the other guitar player, Mark Wing, great guy. He's plays every Southern rock song in the world, and is a kick to play with. We get along great. And we played a place called Max's Oasis Lounge in Boulder City every Friday night.
Okay.
And I'll be there by myself this Friday night, but usually we're a duo there. The band, the Brotherhood, we're playing New Year's Eve at the Summit in Summerlin, which is at the Eagle Crest Golf Course. They have a big entertainment center there, so we're playing there. And then we have anywhere between 1 to 4-piece horn section, depending on the night, who we get and all that stuff.
Sure.
But have arrangements for the horn players and stuff. So.
And how many piece band is that all together with the horns?
With the horns, it's a 7 to 8 piece band with the horns.
So very close to a Tower of Power type of environment.
Oh yeah. We do a bunch of Tower of Power songs.
And are you on vocals, or you're sharing?
I do the blue-eyed soul voices. So the other guys sing the real stuff.
Sure.
I do like a lot of Van Morrison stuff and David Bowie, songs, that kind of stuff. So I can do that I can sing that kind of stuff good. I do a great Boss Skaggs, that kind of stuff. So the blue-eyed soul kind of stuff I do, but these guys are real soul singers that sound really good. So
that sounds like a great scene to catch.
Oh, it's fun, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the drummer in that band and I work together. We're in the Las Vegas Hall of Fame. He's the drummer in the band that I had back then called Madame Tango. So that's it's a small world. Everything gets connected in the music industry. So I've been really blessed. I've gotten to work with some really incredible musicians. I've got to work with Ringo one day, and who, by the way, Joe Walsh and Ringo are brothers-in-law. A lot of people don't. He's married. Joe's married to Marjorie Bach, and Ringo is married to Barbara Bach. And after I got through working with Ringo, one day I was sampling his drums and sitting on the floor with him, showing how to use the drum machine. Mark Hudson was producing. It was from a Vertical Man album. And afterwards, I called Joe up and I said, "Hey, Joe, you won't believe it. I'm working with Ringo," because I knew he knew him at the time. And he calls me and said, "Yeah, gosh, hey, I'm playing on Ringo's album." I go, "Did you set that whole thing up?" I don't know. It's pretty funny. So
the music scene certainly is a small world, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It's a really small world. And this friend of mine, I think I told you about, that you should do an interview with sometime, Tim Meyer. I don't know if you got a chance to look him up. I've known him since he was 6 and I was 4. Great, talented musician. He's the stage tech he did Michael Jackson. He was on Michael Jackson's movie, the last one, credit on that. Janet Jackson, George Harrison, Eric Clapton. He did The Who. He did Gilmore. He's done everybody. Jeff Beck, who's on tour with Jeff Beck. So he's the real deal, man. He knows it. Talk about somebody who knows everybody. He's a wonderful human being. Great guy.
Well, it sounds like you definitely have been around the horn quite a bit in the industry, and you play it down, and you're very modest about who you've worked with and tech for, and some of the companies, D'Angelico, Korg,
Marshall, yeah, Marshall amps and box amps for 10 years, almost 10 years. Yeah,
that's quite a resume to have under your belt. You didn't get there just by magic.
Well, I've been very lucky. I've got to work with a lot of great people, and everybody's been very kind to me my whole life. So.
And you've done all this, and you're only 47, you said?
Yeah, right.
Right?
68 in a couple of weeks. So,
wow.
Yeah.
53, 54 years into the game, and you're still going.
Still going, yeah. I've just been very lucky. And except for a few times I talked to you about before, that's all I've ever done is music. So it's been very kind to me. So.
Wow.
And one form or the other.
Really appreciate all the work and the dedication you put into the industry, and supported a lot of people that the mainstream knows, but the mainstream doesn't know you. And that's something that's important to me, because without the fans, you can't have an artist or a venue or charts or record sales. but without a tech or a supporting lineman or
Yeah.
anybody that can give that artist or that band that foundation, you certainly can't add the penthouse or the second story without the foundation of the house being built.
Yeah.
And I don't
But
think the industry shows that as much.
you know, and the I'm kind of lucky because of the companies I've worked for, I'd get calls up and said, hey, you know, Randy Jackson needs you for this, on some information on this, or Joe Walsh needs you on this, or blah blah. You can go on forever. All the people I've met working for these companies, uh, and then you get to know the artist, and they're always very, you know, it's the most famous artists are the nicest people. You know, it's the ones that are up and coming that can be rude. You know, young kids that, you know, they got that mock. Oh, man. So
The attitude.
it's the greatest players usually that are the nicest.
Sure. And I'm sure there'll be another occasion and a circumstance where we can have another conversation like this. I'd like to go deeper. We'll peel back a little onion layer to go deeper on some of the stories, because I know there's quite a few, and today I know you're very pressed for time. I know you've got something big on the skillet that's cooking. So we do appreciate you taking the time out to spend with us to share a little bit about who Cosmo is.
Well, anytime, Dean.
No,
You're a great guy. I always enjoy talking to you.
thank you very much. We certainly have gotten some great stories under the bridge, and maybe a few more in the future. So we appreciate you taking the time, and thank you for that. No,
Next time, do some playing for you.
you know, we're going to make that happen. We would like to make that happen. And
Okay.
I did think about that today, but I wanted people to get to know who you were first. And we definitely would like to have you play. And maybe we could set something up to where we could even captivate or capture something live.
That would be fun. I'd really enjoy that.
You know, on a gig, perhaps. Maybe we could do a little short broadcast.
I would love that. That would be fun.
Yeah, that would be great. I know you had mentioned that you have quite a few shows with Wing and Watts, the Brotherhood, and then your own solo. So we'll have to maybe sample a little bit of at least one, if not a couple of those genres. So
We'll make it happen. Sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay,
Well,
Dean.
Cosmo, thank you very much. Kids, you've been getting to know a little bit about Cosmo, aka Billy Watts, or aka Cosmo Watts. Cosmo is in Las Vegas. You must go and check him out. He does have a website. Is it cosmowatts.com?
Yeah, cosmowatts.com, which I have to update it and let people know where I'm at now.
Sure.
I was doing that for a while, and I get behind because you get busy and stuff. But yeah, I'll update that.
And you are on Facebook.
Yeah, I kind of got off it for a little bit, but you know, it was getting too wacky for a while. So somebody actually cloned my name and started sending stuff to people, which was really weird. But yeah.
Yeah, I got a check from you, but I didn't take it to the bank because I knew it wasn't from you.
Smart man.
Yeah. So you are on Facebook, cosmowatts.com. You're in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Kids, you've been watching On the Patio. We're on onthepatio.rocks. Cosmo, we appreciate you. Thank you very much.
All right.
Kids, get some sleep. Okay. Take care.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.